What's up everybody, it's your boy CB back at you another video. In this video I'm going to be discussing ways you guys can get more consistent FPS when you're playing Fortnite Mobile. I'm just going to jump right into it. So the first thing I recommend doing is going into your settings, not on Fortnite but on your device if it's an iOS device, and turning off background app refresh. A lot of people still have that on and that just slows everything down, because basically what that does is it stops apps from doing things when you're not in them, like checking for stuff. Like, I don't really know what it checks and stuff. I just know it does stuff in apps when they're not even open. So by turning that off, the apps won't be refreshing, but you'll still get notifications if you want to have like Snapchat and stuff. It won't change any of the notifications. It'll just make it so they're not refreshing and stuff when you're not in it. So I turn that off. Another thing I recommend doing is turning down your 3D resolution. I mention that a lot, but making sure you play on a low 3D res. Unless you have like the newest iPad Pro, I really recommend playing on a 3D res that's below 60. I play on like 40 or something. It's really low just because I want to maximize the performance, because I don't really care as much about the graphics as I do about not lagging and that kind of stuff. So I would play on a very low 3D res if I were you, especially like iPhone players and stuff. I don't know how you guys can play on like 80 3D res and like not lag like crazy. Because I have a iPad Pro 2017, which isn't the newest, but it's also not the worst device to be playing on. And if I have my 3D res above like 50 or 60, I'll notice a difference, and it's just bad. So I recommend playing on a nice low 3D resolution. There's lots of benefits to doing that. Another thing I recommend is if you get in a bunch of games and you notice consistent lag, try restarting the app and then restarting your device, like turn it off, back on. Sometimes just a little doing that every like hour or so if you're playing for like a long period of time can definitely help out. Another thing I recommend doing is avoiding parts of the map that you'll notice a frame drop. Like for me personally, recently I've been getting high frame drops whenever I go near the agency. So I've been trying to avoid going near the agency just because I'll go from a consistent 60 FPS to like 30 FPS just by being in the agency. I don't know why it's doing that, but I've just noticed that it's been bad there, so I've been avoiding it. There's other spots on the map that also cause frame drops, so I would take note of those. So I have like a mental note, like I'm just going to avoid that area so that I can get better frames. Another thing I recommend doing is if you're playing on a device that can play 60 FPS, but it like lags a bunch if it's on 60 FPS, maybe consider putting it down to 30 FPS so that it's just consistent. Because if you're going from playing on 60 to 30 to maybe it drops down to like 20 or something, if it changes a bunch, it'll mess up like your flow and stuff. So if you put it on a like 30 maybe, it'll be consistent at least, but that's up to you guys. I personally don't have that problem, but I've heard from other people that putting it on wherever it's going to be consistent is best, and I can usually get a pretty consistent 60-ish FPS, so that's why I have mine there. Another thing, if you're playing, try to avoid having other apps open while you're playing the game. So just double click out of, or however you do it on Android, just close out all the other apps so that it's just Fortnite. And same with like screen recording or streaming. If you're trying to screen record or stream, you're going to notice that your FPS might not be as good. So if it's like an important game or something, consider not streaming or screen recording if you want to maximize your performance. And yeah, that's basically the majority of my tips. If you guys have other tips and ways you guys increase your FPS, be sure to let them know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!